something just happened that has sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA world. Lin Dunn, the most powerful figure inside the Indiana Fever organization, the woman who has more institutional pull in that building than anyone alive, just revealed herself on a panel that flew largely under the radar. She wasn't talking to ESPN. She wasn't talking to a major platform. She joined a coaching panel where she clearly felt comfortable saying things she would never say in front of a mainstream audience. And what she said about trading players who don't fit the culture, about weeding out behavior problems, about making the toughest decisions for the good of the organization, has connected dots that the entire WNBA world is now talking about. Because when you combine what Lin Dunn said on that panel with the Corey Close connection, the Kate Martin and Erica Wheeler situation in Los Angeles, and everything that has happened inside the Indiana Fever this season, a picture emerges that is impossible to ignore. The signals are all pointing in the same direction. And that direction is the Los Angeles Sparks. Let's start with what Lin Dunn actually said on this panel. Because the words matter here. Dunn was speaking about coaching culture when she said this. Sometimes you have to weed it. You may have some problems with some weeds taking over your culture and you have to plop them out and pick them out and let them go. And that's probably the toughest thing, is when you have to let a player go or trade a player or cut a player because they don't fit into your culture that you've created. And it all goes back to behavior. She never said Caitlin Clark's name. She didn't need to. Because for weeks, the entire conversation around the Indiana Fever has been about one thing: whether Clark fits the culture that Stephanie White and Lin Dunn have built. The same Dan Dockage, who has a decade-long relationship with Lin Dunn, has been saying on air that Clark is a diva, a behavior problem, someone the organization wants nothing to do with. And now Lin Dunn goes on a panel and talks about having to weed out players who don't fit the culture because of their behavior. That is not a coincidence. That is a message. And the WNBA world heard it loud and clear. But the panel appearance is just one piece of this, because there are connections forming around the Los Angeles Sparks that are raising serious questions about whether this trade has already been set in motion. Start with Corey Close. Close is the head coach at UCLA. She won a national championship this year, and she has been openly frustrated with the chaos of college basketball in the NIL era. She said publicly at the Final Four that the recruiting and NIL situation is wearing her out, that she is not having any fun. That is a coach who is looking for an exit. And here is the critical connection. Corey Close coached Caitlin Clark for 2 summers in USA basketball. She knows Clark better than almost any coach alive. She knows how to work with her. She understands her game, her personality, her competitive fire. If the Los Angeles Sparks were looking for a head coach to bring in alongside Caitlin Clark, Corey Close is the exact profile they would target. And the timing of Close's public frustration with college basketball, right in the middle of this Fever chaos, is interesting to say the least. Then there's the roster situation in Los Angeles. Kate Martin is already on the Sparks. Kate Martin, Clark's closest friend and former Iowa teammate. The player who knows Clark's game better than anyone at the professional level. Her presence in Los Angeles is not being discussed enough in this conversation. And then there is Erica Wheeler, Clark's ride or die. Someone who has been publicly supportive of Clark through everything that has happened this season. Wheeler is also already on the Sparks roster. You have Clark's best friend. You have one of her closest supporters in the league. Both already in Los Angeles. Both already wearing Sparks uniforms. And now, Klay Thompson's father, Michael Thompson, a man with deep NBA connections and sports industry relationships, went on air and said publicly that he is hearing the Indiana Fever are sick of Caitlin Clark. These are not random coincidences piling up. These are puzzle pieces. And here is where the scale of what may be happening becomes truly staggering. Because one analyst who has been covering this situation closely went on air and said something that stopped the entire WNBA world in its tracks. His exact words were this: "They killed Caitlin Clark in Indiana. They've done it intentionally. They've now justified moving on from her. This was planned after her rookie season. They brought Stephanie White in as, okay, when we have to move on from Caitlin, who can help us sell that this makes sense? We'll get a hometown hero in Stephanie White. She grew up here in Indiana. We'll bring back Lin Dunn as a senior advisor. She will help us sell this catastrophe of moving on from Caitlin Clark. planned after her rookie season. Think about what that means if true. The Indiana Fever brought in Stephanie White not to build around Clark, but to manage the transition away from her. They brought Lin Dunn back as senior advisor not to support Clark, but to provide institutional cover when the time came to move her. They fired Christy Sides, the coach who was actually figuring out how to win with Clark in the second half of her rookie season, and replaced her with a coach whose strengths lie in making a team of misfits look decent, not in building a dynasty around a generational talent. Every decision that has seemed inexplicable this season, the minutes mismanagement, the tactical rigidity, the one defensive scheme that every team has figured out, starts to make a different kind of sense when you view it through this lens. This was never about winning with Caitlin Clark. This was about building a justification for moving on from her. And the justification has been building piece by piece all season. White publicly questioning Clark's defense. Lin Dunn retweeting articles calling Clark the toughest player in the WNBA to coach. Dan Dockage, Lin Dunn's decade-long media connection, calling Clark a diva and a behavior problem on air. The smear campaign against Clark's personality and behavior has been running in the background of every story this season. And now Lin Dunn goes on a coaching panel and talks about weeding out players whose behavior doesn't fit the culture. The narrative has been constructed carefully and deliberately, and another analyst who was actually inside the Fever arena recently put it in terms that are impossible to ignore. There is definitely something going on with the Fever and Caitlin Clark. There is definitely somewhat of a situation, a smear campaign against Caitlin Clark based on the culture of Indiana basketball. Stephanie White, Lin Dunn, the Indiana Fever organization are gods in that city. And if somebody speaks out against their people, they're going to have their back right or wrong. Gods in that city. That is exactly the dynamic that makes this situation so one-sided. Lin Dunn won the only championship in Fever history. Stephanie White played and coached in Indiana her entire career. These are not outsiders who can be questioned or criticized inside that organization. They are the institution. And when the institution decides something needs to happen, it happens. And right now, every signal coming out of that institution says the same thing. Caitlin Clark does not fit their culture. Her behavior is the problem. And the toughest decision, trading a player who doesn't fit, needs to be made. Now let's talk about the trade itself, because the reality of what a Clark trade to the Sparks would look like matters. Los Angeles does not have the asset package that would normally justify a trade of this magnitude. But here is the thing that analysts are missing in this conversation. The Indiana Fever may not be looking for maximum asset return. They may be looking for something more valuable to them than draft picks or salary matching. They may be looking for a clean exit, a way to move on from the responsibility of being Caitlin Clark's franchise. Because as one analyst put it perfectly, there is a responsibility that comes with Caitlin Clark that goes beyond basketball. She doesn't just need to play well. She doesn't just need to win. She needs to be entertaining. The entire media apparatus around this league runs through her. And the Indiana Fever, their management style, their culture, their coaching philosophy, has shown all season that they are not built to handle that responsibility. Getting rid of that responsibility, even for less than market value, might be exactly what Lin Dunn and this front office want. Caitlin Clark came to Indiana and transformed a franchise that was drawing 4,000 fans a game into must-see television overnight. She filled arenas. She broke records. She changed the conversation around women's basketball forever. And the organization that benefited more than any other from her arrival is now using a coaching panel appearance to plant the seeds of her departure. Lin Dunn talked about weeding out players who don't fit the culture. She talked about behavior being the deciding factor. She talked about making the toughest decisions for the good of the organization. And she did all of this on a panel that barely anyone was watching, as if she was testing the message before taking it public. The LA Sparks. Kate Martin, Erica Wheeler, Corey Close, Klay Thompson's father, Lin Dunn's panel, Dan Dockage's insider information, the smear campaign about Clark's behavior, the front office blocking fans, the organization choosing White over Clark at every turn. Every single piece of this is pointing in the same direction. The signals are there, the connections are real. And the question is no longer whether Lin Dunn wants Caitlin Clark gone from Indiana. The question is whether the WNBA world will see it coming before it happens. What do you think? Is Lin Dunn setting up a Caitlin Clark trade to the Sparks? Or is this all just coincidence? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because this story is moving fast and you do not want to miss a single update. We'll see you in the next one.